She's just starting her video. Give me one moment.
Okay. There we are. Hello. Welcome. Please, just as a reminder, your delegation is limited to 10 minutes. So when you're ready, Ms. Braun, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for having me back, and to all those that are attending in person and taking part in the public consultation for their community strategic plan. My name is Maggie Braun, and I have a background in ecosystem management. And I just wanted to thank the counselors and the mayor and the staff as well. Martina, do you have my slideshow available? Thank you. So tonight I'm here to speak to the Douro Dummer strategic plan, a living blueprint used as a guide for decisions and actions for your community's future. Go to the next slide, please. Of note, the council resolved to partner with Sustainable Peterborough on March 18th, 2011, and that information will just come forward a little bit later in the presentation. Next slide, please. So the strategic plan, some items that I noted when reviewing it is under infrastructure. And I will say that the strategic plan I viewed last week is a little bit different than the one that was just put forward on the screen. So I'm speaking to the one that was available to me when I put forward my delegation request. And in that plan, under infrastructure, I do note that it's looking to pursue solar energy for all municipal buildings and properties. And under administration, I also note that there's a reference to acquisition of property and improved technology for public works vehicles. And I wasn't sure if that was a reference to upgrading the municipal fleet to EV electronic vehicles. And also under the economic development section and community promotion, it spoke to development would be in keeping with the goals and objectives of the official plan. And last year, when we spoke to the official plan on August 1st, it was pretty clear that the official plan had a very low growth rate for this rural municipality. And I just wanted to point out that the statement about the official plan and keeping development within the goals and objectives of the strategic plan seemed to be somewhat of a misnomer if the potential growth for the municipality is quite low. And lastly, under this section of economic development, it refers to providing protection for agricultural, natural heritage, and natural spaces. And again, Douro Dummer, of course, loves its farms and natural spaces, but we do note that the provincial mapping has arbitrary lines that seem to be restricting private property rights and severances. And that's already a problem for the residents within your municipality. Next slide, please, Martina. And we can come back to this one, but we've already covered it in the August 1st deputation, so we'll just move on to the next slide. So as stated in my presentation on August 1st, 2023, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities sent a municipal primer to Canadian municipalities in 1994, promoting sustainable development through local strategic action. And according to the municipal primer, sustainable development is a term that was coined in the Brundtland Commission. And that paper states, for sustainable development, that land cannot be controlled by individuals and that land and resources must be saved for future generations. So that's where that term came from, and it has to do with private property rights. So I just wanted to note that. Next slide, please. On page 9 of the municipal primer is a flow chart showing how Agenda 21 would be implemented through Canadian municipalities. And if you note the means of implementation, promoting promoting education, public awareness and training, information for decision making, and transfer of environmentally sound technology. We can go to the next slide. In order to implement this agenda, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities created the Partners for Climate Protection Program in 1994 as well. And they did this in collaboration with the Government of Canada and ICLEI, Governments for Local Sustainability. And the Partners for Climate Protection Program is a means of implementation providing information for decision-making on Agenda 21 or UN directives, as it's now called. So since that time, municipal councils and local NGOs such as Sustainable Peterborough have partnered with ICLEI and the Partners for Climate Protection Program. And as stated, Douro Dummer adopted a resolution to partner with Sustainable Peterborough in 2011, and Peterborough County partnered around that time as well. Next slide, please. So what does this have to do with your strategic plan? So as a result of these partnerships, municipal plans and official plans, as well as public surveys, are now being drafted in consultation with ICLEI and the Partners for Climate Protection Program. In some cases, municipalities are even beginning to deny public deputations because they state that they're basing their decision-making under the United Nations directives. So what we are seeing in a lot of our municipal plans is an emphasis on the UN directives, including targeting our mobility, energy security, upgrading municipal fleets to quote unquote green technology, and of course solar energy on municipal buildings and so on. So that's what this has to do with strategic plans and why I pointed out those items on the strategic plan that I saw. And we can go to the next slide, please. So back to the supporting rationale for the Partners for Climate Protection Program and Sustainable Peterborough. There it states in their joining resolution that climate change is increasing the frequency of extreme weather events and that Canada has committed to limiting the global temperature increase to below 2 degrees Celsius. Next slide, please. It's now 30 years later, and we find that only 0.3% of published scientists have stated in their peer-reviewed papers that recent warming is mostly man-made. And the World Climate Declaration recently came out in August 2023, stating that there is no climate emergency, and it's now been signed by 1,904 scientists in the field. Next slide. So the following statements come from this declaration and peer-reviewed studies. And we can just flip through the next ones pretty quickly, Martina. Thank you. Natural factors as well as anthropogenic factors cause climate change. The Earth's orbit and tilt drive glacial and interglacial changes. Next one. The Geological Archive reveals that the Earth's temperature has varied as long as the planet has existed. Next one. The Earth has warmed significantly less than predicted by the UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the main source of research for ICLEI Canada, the Partners for Climate Protection Program, and Sustainable Peterborough. These models exaggerate the effect of greenhouse gases and ignore the benefits of additional CO2 in the atmosphere. Next one.
Ms. Braun, there's 1 minute remaining.
Thank you. So the next one, I'll just say CO2 is not a pollutant. It's the basis of all life on Earth. CO2 is not the primary greenhouse gas. Water vapor is. And the warming effect of CO2 goes down as the concentrations increase. CO2 is plant food, it feeds people. Additional CO2 in the atmosphere increases the moisture in the soils and increases the yields of crops worldwide, which is notable for an agricultural region such as Douro Dummer. Also, that global warming has not increased natural disasters, and the many experts at Clintel, the Global Climate Intelligence Group, are asking why the IPCC is not correcting policymakers and mainstream media for falsely reporting the findings of their reports. So I'm just going to jump through here, Martina, a couple of slides to slide 19. Down we go. Okay, so there is ample evidence that CO2 mitigation measures are as damaging as they are costly, and we strongly oppose the net zero CO2 policies. Go for adaptation instead of mitigation. Adaptation works no matter the cause. And I will note that 95% of rural municipalities in Saskatchewan have recently put out a statement that CO2 is not a pollutant, and they are no longer supporting net zero policies because it's been very harmful to their communities and their rural economies and growth.
Ms.
So
Braun,
the
I'll
next
ask that
slide.
you take 30 seconds to wrap up, please.
Yep. Okay, so these, could you please go to the next slide, Martina? Yeah. And if I could just ask for a minute added, because it's hard to do the slides when someone else is in control of them.
I understand you're already a minute and a half over, and we do have a full agenda this afternoon, but I'm giving you another 30 seconds to wrap things up.
Okay, so the problem with these programs is that they continually ask council to endorse these sustainable development goals and redirect the public funds, such as solar infrastructure and upgrading municipal fleets, to private sustainable development goals. This takes staff and committee time. There's also consequences to councillors who oppose it, and councillors and councils are liable for implementing this program because they endorse it. The Federation of Canadian Municipalities and the Government of Canada have waived liability for implementing these programs. So lastly, next slide. This program is completely voluntary, as is your participation with Sustainability Peterborough, and you can make a motion to leave at any time. Next slide. Just a reminder that council is the governing body of the municipality and the custodians of its powers, and councils have a duty to represent the public, consider the interests of the municipality, and protect their decision-making options and authorities. So the next slide is the recommendation, so I'm closing now. So the recommendations for this delegation is that council be directed to review the municipal primer of 1994 so that they're fully aware of the agenda that they're implementing by their endorsements, as well as the World Climate Declaration of 2023 so that they're updated on recent climate science, and also that council consider delaying the approval of the strategic plan or at least noting the sustainable development goals within it and consider redirecting those funds to lowering the property tax or finding ways to make life a bit more affordable within your community. And the last slide, please. That council reconsider its approval. That council reconsider its original motion to partner with Sustainable Peterborough, and that motion is provided for you on the screen. And with that, the residents of Douro Dummer want to support you in asserting your authority over these voluntary programs and assist in providing you with further information on these programs. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions. And thank you for giving me that extra time.
Thank you. Okay, council, over to you. And folks in the chamber, thank you for your applause, but please keep in mind we for audio reasons with the mics and screen, just to keep the noise down in the chamber. Council, any questions or discussion? Otherwise, we're just looking for a motion on the presentation. Councillor Vervoort?
Mayor Watson, thank you very much, Maggie, for the presentation here on today. Very much appreciated. And with that, I would like to make a motion to receive the presentation.
All right, thank you. Deputy Mayor Nelson?
I'll second that motion with thanks.
Thank you. Any discussion from council? Then we'll just call for the vote. All in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you very much. And thank you, Ms. Braun.
Thank you.
Okay, on to item 8.4.